Good morning, Wayne. I will see you right here on Undisputed in about 2 hours, as always, on Friday. But right now, it is time to skip the BS. It is time for Undisputed. It is time for me and Michael Irvin and Keyshawn Johnson to talk Raheem Morris and Bill Belichick. Whoa, wait a second. The Atlanta Falcons? They hired Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick after he interviewed twice with the Falcons. Good for the Falcons. Wise move. But hold on. Now it looks like Bill Belichick will not get any job in this hiring cycle. How is that possible? Keyshawn, would you please kick us off and explain to me how all this happened?
Well, I'm sure you're smiling all the way to the end of the ocean. When you look at it, everything has to be perfectly aligned for Bill Belichick to get a job that he wants and he wants to covet. It's not, and I keep saying this, Skip, coaches that are in his position, the Harbaughs, the Pete Carrolls, the Bill Belichicks, the guys that have done it for many years and know what they're doing, they need everything to be perfectly aligned. If Raheem Morris deserves this opportunity as a third-time head coach, once full-time head coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, once upon a time, and then 11 games in the interim situation with the Atlanta Falcons. When the Atlanta Falcons made this decision wasn't made overnight. This decision was taking process for quite some time. They just had to figure out if they actually wanted to do the Raheem Morris situation, because Coach Belichick, according to reports, everything had to be aligned structurally. He wanted certain things in place that apparently Arthur Blank, Rich McKay made a decision that they were not. So he decided, I'm assuming, to turn it down. They haven't officially said, well, he turned the job down, but based on the reports, that's what you have to believe, is that he said, you know what? Never mind, I'll look to do something different. Therefore, it opened up the door for them to hire Raheem Morris, who had been there before. Now, I'll give you a little backstory on Raheem Morris. I've been knowing Raheem from my days at the New York Jets when he worked in our equipment office with our equipment staff way back then at Hofstra University. Fast forward to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he came in as our quality control guy and then eventually became an assistant defensive back coach. And then he went on to Kansas State, became Kansas State's defensive coordinator, swapped back to Tampa Bay. In Tampa Bay, he was the defensive coordinator for all of about a day. And then they abruptly fired Coach Gruden and made him the head coach. And then he went on to have some success as a receiver coach in Atlanta. In Washington, he coached the receivers in DB. So he has some coaching pedigree to him. He falls under the Dungy and Mike Tomlin tree. Okay, so now you look at what he was able to do with the Los Angeles Rams. It's a perfect marriage for that situation. Rich McKay knows him well, okay? Arthur Blank knows him well, and he's not coming with all of the demands that these veteran coaches would come with, like a Bill Belichick. The one thing that Raheem, to have the success in Atlanta, he's got to do is he got to find a quarterback. Is it trading for Justin Fields? Is it Kirk Cousins out there in free agency? Is it trying to figure out how to draft a guy? Is it all those things in the mix and signing Mike Evans in free agency potentially, or T. Higgins in free agency potentially? And as far as the Belichick situation go, yeah, maybe he doesn't get a job because it's Washington and Seattle, and he decides he's going to wait for somebody to open up again next year while he still has an opportunity, with his age being where it's at, to still have the energy and juice to want to coach. And I understand people looking at it like you, Skip, and saying, hey, well, what is this? This is the greatest coach of all time. He can't get a job? Well, it's not that simple. It's not that he can't get a job. It just has to be the right job.
And I think it has to be the right job. I think it has to be the right job, and I thought Atlanta was the right job, to be honest with you. And listen, Raheem Morris, I'm happy for him getting an opportunity to once again be a head coach. But if you're going to go defensive, and I mean in the head coach position, You're going to go defensive. You have one of the greatest defensive coaches that's ever been around the game. And he's one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in the game. So I'm a little confused by that. I hear people talk about this, the control factor. I talk about it all the time. I told you guys yesterday, coaching is about coaching, communication, and control. Those 3 C's right there are what's working in that office. I'm blown away. I'm blown away that you come to a conclusion that with Bill Belichick and the lack of success that most of these places have had, that, well, we want control still, and we don't want to listen to him totally because, we want control. Are you joking? That's the most successful dude that ever did it on the sideline. I understand what you watched the last few years in New England and the development or lack thereof of that quarterback, Mac Jones, in New England. But if I'm going defense, coach, love Raheem Morris, but you had Bill Belichick right there. I got to figure out and stop those communication issues, whatever I believe they may have been. I got to figure those out and stop them. On the other hand, the Bill Belichick, I just don't like the way his people have handled all of this. He's the greatest coach to ever live and coach in the National Football League. I would have liked his people to have handled this a little bit better. I wouldn't have been putting Bill out there going on all of those cycles, going on interviews. It's you talk to me behind the scene. If we're going to make a deal, if we're going to see something through, we can see it through. So he's not out here like this, looking like this. I just think it's a bad look, and his people failed him in this situation.
Really? Okay. So they should have done it more behind the scenes?
I think he's earned that. He's earned that, Skip.
All right.
He has earned that. Okay. And each of those teams, Atlanta just wanted to toot the horn. We just interviewed Bill Belichick. Come on, man. Let's hold that out if if it wasn't going to work out down the road. That's just me. I mean, I understand that we're passing that bill and the communication issue and what we have on offense and the issues they've had on offense. But I just thought that his people could have handled it.
I don't know that they didn't think that they would get a deal done with Bill. I think Bill just made a decision based on his communication from what we are gathering that it wasn't going to work. So it sounds like to me, just based on that the job was his.
There was more Bill than
it was more Bills than it was the Atlanta Falcons. Whatever that is, I don't know. For all we know, it could have been, I want 5 years. They said, no, I'm giving you 3. It could have been, we want you to have some of these assistants or our payroll. And he's like, no, I want to bring in my own. We don't know what that is.
I'm with you. I'm still saying the Bills people, we could have handled it.
I understand.
We could have handled this better.
I understand.
All right. So, Michael, think about this. We've been going round and round about Jerry Jones. He's 81 years of age. He says, my window is closing. I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to have in life to win a Super Bowl because I'm getting up there in years. And yet, remember, Arthur Blank is 2 weeks older than Jerry Jones. He was born 2 weeks before. So he's also 81 years of age. And I don't hear him talk about how my window is closing or how many years he has left on this planet. But the point is, if Arthur, who's never won a Super Bowl, at least Jerry has 3 Super Bowl trophies in his office, if Arthur Blank really wanted to plunge for the greatest coach ever, he would have just done it. Whatever Bill wanted, he would just say, here, you got the keys to the kingdom. And yet he didn't, because in the end, I believe that Arthur Blank said no to Belichick because Belichick wanted complete control of the franchise. He did not want to have to answer to Rich McKay, who Keyshawn knows very well, or to Terry Fontenot, who's the GM. So you got the president and the GM who were positioned on the sort of the depth chart above Bill Belichick. And Arthur said, I'm going to side with them because Bill wants them both out. Not maybe gone, but just out of my way because Bill wanted the keys to the kingdom. And Arthur Blank said no, because I believe Arthur Blank believes that Bill had not earned the right to have the total keys to the kingdom over the 4 years he had after Tom Brady in New England. He had 4 years to prove he was the reason they won all those championships. He had 4 years to show the NFL world, I can do this by myself. I don't need that quarterback. I can take another quarterback. And he handpicked Mac Jones. He traded up to get Mac Jones. And obviously, it was a disaster. And obviously, Bill went 29-38 in 4 years in New England after he convinced Robert Kraft Tom Brady cannot play anymore. Biggest mistake Bill ever made. Can't play anymore because Tom, obviously, in the pandemic year of 2020, went straight down to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl. So Tom showed you to me that he was the reason. I always give him 75% of the credit over Bill. You guys believe it was mostly Bill. I respect your opinions. I just disagree. And I believe Arthur Blank decided Bill wasn't the driving force, that I can't give him everything. I can't give him the control that he wants of my franchise and trust him to go find and also coach up a quarterback because he didn't prove he could do it with Mac Jones. So Bill had his opportunity. And my point to you guys has been, if he is the greatest coach ever, why didn't the whole league, why didn't every vacancy there was, why didn't they just line up and say, please, Bill, come take our job? Obviously, he wouldn't want maybe a Carolina job, but there are a bunch of other jobs that maybe he would want. And Tennessee takes Brian Callahan. I'm like, over Bill, could you have Bill?
Let him go, Mike.
But we've talked about it. Coaching is not just coaching. When we say he's the greatest coach, the results have spoken for him and spoken loudly and clearly. He's the greatest coach. There's a lot that comes with that. And there's a lot of dealings with a lot of people who, honestly, let me let you in on a secret, who don't know what the hell they're doing. And don't know a lot less than Bill, that knows a lot less than Bill Belichick knows, and still want to be in control and in charge. So I understand sometimes Bill saying, hey, we got to watch what this dude doing, watch what that dude doing. But he is the greatest coach. What he accomplished in the time where free agency had come in. When we talk about great coaches, those coaches didn't have to shuffle in players and deal with the free agency. He had his dynasty over the start, all that plan B and free agency, all of this coming through, moving in and out of players. He's the greatest coach to ever live. It's just a lot that comes with that also when you have a head coach.
And Skip, you can't just assume that because he is the greatest coach, even his own quarterback said that. You talk about the last 4 years. Well, how about the first 4 years in New England with Tom Brady? A guy that he drafted and helped develop. So when you talk about the last 4, how about the first 4? Beside that, you can't just assume that every coach and every owner and general manager are going to align just because they're the greatest. It does not work for everybody. In basketball, everybody didn't want Phil Jackson. They just didn't want to deal with that, okay? And I'm sure Phil Jackson didn't want to deal with other teams because it's not just I'm good at X's and O's. Like Michael said, there's so much that go into when you talk about control. I'm not talking about just roster control. I'm talking about control of the building. When I come in as a head coach, I want a new secretary. I don't want your secretary. I want the person that's been with me for 25 years that I can trust at every stop.
That's not sneaking back and reporting to you.
Sneaking back and reporting.
Right.
Exactly.
This is the kind of espionage stuff that goes on in a building you got to know about.
I'm taking a job. I'm firing the security guard at the door, period, because I want my own security. I understand he's been here 35 years. I'm coming in. I want my own strength coach. I want my own nutritionist. Those are the things that coaches have to ask for. And then when you start talking about working with Terry and Rich McKay, the general manager and the president of the team, I don't know their relationship with Bill. I have no idea. But maybe, just maybe, they had a different idea of how to run the team. And Bill doesn't want that. Sure Bill wants some say. He doesn't want you just drafting players and giving it. He wants to work with you. But maybe they say, we're going to take a quarterback. And Bill says, no, I don't want to take a quarterback. I'd rather go sign Kirk Cousins, or I'd rather trade for Justin Fields or something along those lines. And they're like, no, that's not the way we see it. It has to work for everybody, Skip.
Okay, so do you think Arthur Blank just made a huge mistake, not giving everything up to Bill and saying, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Please come and save me.
No, I don't think he made a mistake. What Rich McKay and Terry did was make a decision on somebody that they know, that they have a relationship with. Raheem Morris has a relationship with that building. Okay, he coached there.
Yes.
He coached there as assistant head coach from 2015 to 2019 and pass game coordinator. Offensive side of the ball, by the way. 2016 to 19 receivers. Defensive coordinator 2020 and interim coach. There's a relationship
Beautiful.
there. Right. There's a relationship there.
Okay. And Keyshawn, allow me to say, and I've said this many times before you guys join me on the show, it has been a long-running crime that Raheem Morris didn't get a shot before this shot. It's been 13 years since he was an official head coach, not just an interim, in Tampa Bay. Keyshawn, you remember this well. In his second year coaching the Bucs with Josh Freeman at quarterback, they went 10-6.
Yes.
10-6. And then he had some issues. I don't want to get into the gory details with Josh, off the field issues. And it crumbled the last couple of years. But he showed you what he could do when everything was, the planets were aligned. And he handpicked Josh because he had coached him at Kansas State. He knew him. And it went way up, and then it started to teeter. But he showed you what he could do when everything was correct. He can coach at the highest level. I think it's a great move for Atlanta to give him a second shot, and it was beautiful because of the point you're making, Keyshawn. He had been an interim coach, so they got to work with him and know him on a daily basis and watch him operate as the commanding officer of that whole franchise. And I think they love this. And they said when he came in with Mr. Blank last week, I think it was only Tuesday that he flew in, that he killed his interview. And I think you saw him fairly recently, right?
I had dinner with him a couple weeks ago. So, and you think about it too, Rich McKay was with us in Tampa. So there's a long relationship with that. When he got the job in Tampa,
there's a comfort there.
When he got the job in Tampa, he wasn't ready to be a head coach. He just wasn't. He was basically a player that was pushed into the role to become a head coach. He just wasn't ready for it. The second opportunity would be a little bit different. What I would say to him is I told him, one of the things you cannot do, you cannot be phony, okay, because the players are going to see through it, okay, and you better go get a quarterback.
Right.
You better get a quarterback.
And that's right there, that all of this we're saying is going to be the determining factor of whether we're calling this a success or not. And why? I'm not going to say he made a mistake, Skip, but I might be leaning towards saying he made a poor decision. You see what I mean? Okay. In this situation, he made, I thought, a poor decision when you have the opportunity of a Bill Belichick out there. That's what I'm saying. Let's think about this. Now, in the next 3-4 years, because that's what's going to take if you go find your young quarterback and talking about developing him, it's going to take another 2, 3, 4 years. So now, in these next 3 years, you get a Bill Belichick, and he puts structure around your organization, gives you a pretty good defense. You can go out and find a veteran quarterback to play while you're raising up a young quarterback with an offensive coordinator that you think is going to be ready to take over the job in 4 years when Bill retire. But now you have the structure of an organization and what a champion, how they practice, how they structure things, how they put it together. You have that in place. Who's bringing it? Who's bringing it? And not only who's bringing it, who can implement it? Can Raheem Morris implement that at the same level, with the same level of respect as he's implementing it, as Bill Belichick would have had? I say no. That's why I say we'll find out if he made a mistake. I just think he made a poor decision here.
Okay. So I'm asking both of you. I predicted before this hiring cycle, I did not think Bill would get a job. Do you think if he doesn't get one now, he will get one next time around?
If it's the right situation, there was only 2 jobs that, to me, in my eyes, that was available that was right. I had already booked
Chargers.
I already booked the New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders to sign or better yet, hire who they hired. That was already done. It didn't make any sense to do anything other than that. The Carolina Panther job, come on, man, stop. Right? Seattle doesn't make any sense. So it was only the Chargers or Atlanta that would have made any sense. And clearly the Chargers wanted to go the Harbaugh route, which is fine. And then Atlanta, based on the reports, Bill didn't want to, figure out how to have a structure in place where they all could work together. But I do believe if something opens up next year that makes sense, he'll be in the running for that again.
Hey, Skip, you and I both know there are some coaches and some owners who are sitting here saying, should I not, should I? Okay, I may ride this out one more year and one more year. Our team is in that boat, that same boat. So you'll see some teams that'll start looking at that one more year and giving that team that one more year. Yeah, he'll be right back.
And he's been coaching for like 60 years straight. So it's okay to take a year off and breathe.
And that's why I say I wish his people would have handled it as that. Just like that right there. Saying, hey, Bill's weighing his options. Y'all come over here. We call it what we call it. And then after all of it said and done, we'll say, hey, you know what? Bill thinks he's just going to take a year off and breathe. Would have been in the same place, and the shine still would have been on Bill like it's supposed to be right now.
Okay. And you guys know how I feel. I actually hope he does get another shot a year from now so that it will close the case that Bill has been overrated, because I don't think he'll do well in his final hurrah.
But if he goes to a Super Bowl, if he goes to another team and he wins a Super Bowl, will you hands down say I was wrong and then spell wrong?
Down. But I will not have to do that because Tom already did that for me when he went to Tampa and did it. Thank you very much, Tom Brady.
Hey, I believe
okay, we got to get back to now. We got to get back to AFC Championship game. Chiefs, Ravens. I got the Ravens. I got them convincingly. We'll debate next. No mercy. No mercy. No mercy. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.